Test. There you go. Yeah, that's where we wanted you. Oh yeah, it's working. It's just not showing us in the studio having it.
Yeah, but we can't hear them.
That's okay. Let's try this real quick. Oh, is that up there? That's a speaker. Microphone. Maybe it's default. Maybe it's that.
Yeah, I would just put default.
All right. Test, test, test. Yep. All right. Oh, that's it? Yeah, that's good. Clyde, are you able to hear us? Excellent.
Perfect.
Thanks, Clyde.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Michael Sarich. I am the VP of Sales for Volanti Displays, and this is the very first time that we're doing this, so I apologize that we're a few minutes late. I do have my buddy Brian here from Allied BIM, and we are going to showcase his program on our Volanti 55-inch 4K plan review table. It's fully height adjustable. The panel can go from a 90-degree all the way flat. And what Brian's going to do is he's going to walk you through the process on what he does on a day-to-day basis using a Volanti touchscreen with his program. And Brian, the camera's yours.
Thanks,
and
Michael.
You'll hear me asking questions throughout the event as well.
That sounds great. My name's Brian Nickel. I'm the CEO of Allied BIM. It's nice to have everybody on today. I know you're seeing our studio session here, but we're going to switch over to just our connected application. But essentially, what Allied does is Allied is model-to-machine fabrication software. And I reached out to Michael because he's local here in Boise, Idaho, where I'm located. And what our customers do is our customers generally use like automation equipment. So we use like saws that have touch screens from the manufacturer typically, but they're usually really small. They're actually smaller than these, probably around like 15-inch monitors, sometimes up to 20, but not really big. And what we did is we started incorporating the 39 to 40-inch model, I believe was what 43-inch model of this exact same plan review table. So the way we use it is essentially our software that we've developed is all fully touchscreen. So we can actually go in and just edit any settings. We're able to rotate around models with this. And what's nice is in our shop applications, we have guys that aren't used to using computers. And so what's nice about being able to use the touchscreen is they can come in and get information without really even needing to know how to use a computer. The other side to this is we have a full model pulled up. So our software works on the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So I'm just going to end isolation here. I know we were getting a little bit of latency issues, so we might be dealing with a little bit of lag. So we'll see here. There we go. And then if we zoom out, we've got the entire model. So this is actually a demo model that we use, but it was actually fabricated up in Shepherd, Michigan. And what's nice is on the plan review table, we're able to actually look through our list of assemblies over here. And so we can search for a specific number, or we can just check off like a run. I'm going to be selecting this run here as if I'm just a shop user and just isolate that out. What's nice is it gives us the ability to visualize and select and control what we can see. The other side to this is if we isolate into an assembly that has bends or just another rack piece, we can actually see that that particular assembly has 12 conduits with 10 bends in it. We also can see that the size and the total length of the amount of conduit that we need to build that rack, along with the total length of the 3/4 inch. And what that allows us to do is basically we can come in and select any of these conduits. And really the power of Allied running on the web, on the touch screen, gives us the ability to show Allied objects. And what's nice here is a plan review guy can actually scroll over and get their lengths, they can get their marks, they can get their angles of bends. So all the information's there to be able to use like a hand bender or even a semi-automated bender, which would be just traditional in the electrical space. As many people know that follow our company, we connect to CNC tube benders as well. But what I want to make really clear here is that the instructions can work for anybody using a tape measure and just a standard hacksaw. So it's really helpful in that regard. The other side is visual instructions. So as you're getting new trades guys in that don't know how to necessarily use the tape measure or are learning, this gives us all of our actual distances between things. And we can also toggle on dimensions for selected pipes. So if I select this piece, it'll give me my back-to-backs and overalls so that I can actually QA and QC check what we're building as well. So I know I jumped into a lot there. Do you have any questions, Michael?
So one of the questions I had was, for you and your colleagues, how does working on the Volanti touchscreen, like how does it change your day-to-day workflow, all your overall production throughout the day versus the traditional keyboard and mouse?
Yeah, one of the biggest things for us is just the intuitiveness of the screen. So like when we're working with traditional touch screens, they're generally pretty laggy. They don't connect very well to our devices. And so on our shop computers, some of the shop computers are older. And what's nice is because you connect to USB through it, it actually projects up. And what's nice is we're getting a more responsive time, and it reduces having to use the keyboard and mouse to navigate through what we're working with. But specifically on the Volanti, we've compared other touch screens. We've worked with like subpar tech grade ones, and they just don't run as fast. They don't run as intuitively. In our workflow and in our world, electricians, mechanical guys, plumbing guys, we like to get things fast and not have lag or delay. Anytime that we're fighting any sort of movement, it's lagging and glitching, they'll shut it off and they'll just go to the old school way of doing it. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So how would a touch screen like a 24-inch, for instance, connected to your bending machine, how would that help your overall workflow?
Yep. So what Michael's talking about is actually a Scotchman CPO 350, as well as a Scotchman SUP 600. So on those fully automatic saws that we're working with, they come equipped with like a standard small touchscreen. And what we've done is we've actually put a 43-inch on those now in these shops. And sometimes we'll use even bigger ones, but what's nice is they'll set up an assembly table in front of the actual shop, or of the actual saw. And then they can actually go over, navigate through and select what they want, go back to the table and continue working. And they're getting all that visual instructions just on the fly, as opposed to just having like a standard iPad, like 15 to 19-inch screen. Now we've got a much bigger monitor to kind of portray instructions. We're not having to use a mouse and keyboard where they're gluing stuff together. It's all touchscreen. They're using gloves typically. These guys work with their hands all day, but they'll use gloves and kind of navigate on the screen as well.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
How has technology evolved? So in other words, if you were trying to sell your company with the new technology that you work with, and you're dealing with someone who's been in this industry for 25 to 30 plus years, and they're getting close to retirement, but they want to learn about new technology, what would you kind of tell them on why this particular technology is useful for their everyday use? Yeah, so I work actually with all the way, my business partner is 60 plus years old. He's retired in plumbing. And when we're working with technology, what's been great for him is I can show him like, hey, here's how we navigate it. And they're able to use it to learn the software faster because they're using their hands. They're not disconnected from the keyboard and mouse. Mm-hmm. So I studied in school, and one of my professors told me, he's like, when you're not working with something tangibly with your hands, and you're using a keyboard and mouse, that's usually the bottleneck between the separation of the person and the computer. What's nice about these touch screens is, and when we're working with them, is we're actually like touching the software when we work with it. I know that sounds weird, but that's just, it makes it more intuitive for the end user to understand what they're doing faster. It's much quicker than dragging a mouse around. Like we can quickly, toggle between things that we want to see. We can toggle off of things. It just makes it
way more intuitive. They can zoom in. It's like working with their cell phone. Most of those guys are on their phone every night, scrolling through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That kind of helps for them to be able to work with it. On traditional shop computers that you get for CNC machines, they're still giving you a keyboard and mouse. So you're still using, in some cases, a keyboard and mouse at the computer. What's nice about the Volanti, like being connected into our saws, is it gives us the ability to have just a much more accessible user interface.
Gotcha. And one question that always comes up between clients that are inquiring about our product is how well these hold up in dirty, dusty environments.
Yes.
And one thing that we do when we manufacture our touch screens is we actually bond the panel to the touch, so no dust and no debris can get sucked into the display. So how well does the display hold up in your dirty, dusty environment?
It's been fantastic. We haven't had any issues whatsoever. These are very heavy in terms of quality. So they've been very resistant. That was one of the first questions I actually asked you was hey, we're moving a lot of stuff around. What happens if we bash it? How do we protect the screen? And one of the things about this is that the screen is extremely durable. Most traditional touchscreens that you buy in a shop environment, like from Best Buy, those are going to crack within a couple weeks of using it because they're going to smash the screen. These have been very durable. In fact, I think when I met with you, you were hitting the screen and there was no.
Try it.
I'm not gonna do it today. It's very durable. In fact, you can't even see barely that I'm hitting it, which is awesome.
Yeah. So one thing with our displays, we use 3mm strengthened glass. So we actually pride ourselves on being able to handle dirty, dusty environments, whether it be a manufacturing floor, whether it be on-site construction trailer. So one other thing, if you were to talk to someone who has never used your software or never used a large format touchscreen, what would you tell them in regards to selling them on new technology, on why they should use something like this?
I mean, honestly, we dealt with this. I don't know what's going on here. I've got something glitching up here, but I think this just opened up. But essentially, what I would tell somebody that's not comfortable with new technology, that's trying to justify and understand why you would want this in their shop. Most of the guys that we're working with in the electrical space or even mechanical and plumbing, they want to have an application that's accessible and usable at an assembly station. They want to have a accessible station where they can plug in their computer. What's nice is over here, we can dock and undock multiple screens. So if they're working on other laptops or other computers, they just plug right in and away they go. Another component to it is in our shops, when we're working on these cut lists and we're working on these saws, we're actually printing labels out. And what's nice is in our software, we can design the label maker for it. And it makes it easier. In traditional cases, when you're designing labels and working with printing labels, it's not a fun process in today's world. But having the touch screen there, having the equipment set up where we can plug in, it's native to what they're used to working with, or even if it's a shop computer, having that durability, having that consistency and quality makes the experience much better for those guys when they're working with lists and materials. These guys do not like searching for materials or wading through and waiting for times for stuff to load. We want quick results, quick action. The intuitiveness and the responsiveness of this gives us results, right?
You got it. Yeah. Well, awesome. Brian, I want to thank you for showcasing your software.
Yeah, absolutely.
Showcasing the Volanti Plan Review Table. Yeah. And for anyone who is interested in a Volanti product, everything that you see here, minus the side monitor, Volanti Displays actually manufactures in California. So the fully height adjustable plan review table, the panel itself, you can lay completely flat or it goes to a full 90 degrees. It also is a height adjustable device. So you can go up and down at different levels, whether you want to sit, stand, desk, or you want to sit down using your traditional one. hold on one second.
Stop screen.
Oh yeah, there you
In
go.
the middle, stop screen, in the middle, yeah.
There you go.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so
Perfect.
I'm gonna go through that again really quick since I realized I was still screen sharing. So basically what it is, it's a height adjustable table where the entire panel can lay down flat. So in case you have multiple colleagues standing around your table, it can go to a 90-degree in case you're doing a presentation with an audience. It is a height adjustable unit, so the entire thing goes up for taller people, or if you want to just sit down with a traditional chair, you can use it as your all-in-one desktop. Like Ryan said, it is 3mm strength in glass. The 24-inch side monitor, you can have one on the left and or the right. Webcam, folding keyboard tray, laptop tray, which has my Microsoft Surface Pro on it, battery backup, 25-foot retractable cable reel. So we do offer all the bells and whistles. But if you do want to learn any more information, please do check out our website at volantidisplays.com. My name is Michael Sarich. I'm the VP of Sales. My colleague, Allie Benson, she runs sales support and marketing. So either one of us can help you answer any questions. And if you guys do want to connect, you can connect to us on LinkedIn, reach us on Facebook, or just give us a call and we can answer any additional questions that you guys might have. But for that, I want to thank everyone for showing up today. And like I said, this was the very first time that we did this. So that might have been a little bit glitchy. And if you do have any questions, please let us know. So thank you very much, or comment on the website. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you guys would like to see on Allied BIM? Or I can see that there's 8 of you guys in here right now.
I can jump over on the Allied side. I just wanted to get that cut list pulled up actually, because I
Go
think
for it.
that would be
Perfect.
valuable to show,
Yeah.
actually, if you wouldn't mind.
Go for it.
So we'll go ahead and just, yeah, there you go. I don't know what this guy was, but maybe something I'm doing, maybe Michael, you can help. I was just typing in up here with the keyboard.
Yeah.
So if I type here, it's jumping to other tabs. I wasn't sure.
Let me see.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. To be
Okay.
honest with you.
I'll have to take a look at that. But yeah, essentially what our shop guys do real quick is we just connect here and we can go into a simulation mode. And what's nice is on the simulation mode, if we just hide the text, I probably just didn't set up the keyboard correctly or something like that. But in here, we connect to TigerStop, we connect to Razor Gauge, and we also connect to the Crippa benders. In the Crippa benders, it's a little bit different, but we have a no machine option. And what's nice about that is when we connect to no machine, we can go through and actually create a cut list to move over to our fabrication panel. So I'm just going to tap over here. It looks like we're opening up a new tab, so we'll just jump over to that new tab for a minute here. I may need to refresh it too. There we go. So I have some cut jobs in here, and then down below, what we're going to do is just go to simulation mode with a no machine type. We'll go ahead and click connect. And generally, this all works on a traditional browser, but the nice case here is everything within Allied is touchscreen enabled. So when we're in the shop and we're actually trying to isolate to assemblies, we're trying to isolate through projects, that gives us the ability to basically control what we can see at the shop table when we're assembling. But what's huge is in here, this is our cut list. So those racks that I was isolating earlier from assemblies 1 through 9, this gives us the ability to display all the information associated to it, along with all the ones that have bins or straight cuts. And this one, I've got mostly straight cuts. I have a bins tab as well. And what's nice here is Allied's validating it off of the actual bin settings. So in here, if I actually select into one of these, when it pulls up on the screen, we have 2 places where we can scan the tube. If we're working on a CNC tube bender, we can scan it here on screen, or we can scan it on the physical tube itself. So when we're running all of our conduit through the machine, we can actually inkjet the UPC code onto the material, and then they walk that over to the tube bender and away they're bending. So right here, we've got a 10-foot stick, and we can actually see down here that there's actually a bend angle that's marked out as well. That works for traditional benders. So if you've got like a Greenlee 855 or 854, or even a hand bender, we can ink the instructions of where that mark's going to be for the bend, just for your traditional benders. And then we can also scan and generate a UPC code that allows us to connect our bend files directly into the CNC machine. We also have bend sheets. What's nice about this is this gives us the ability to see not only our information that we're sending to the bender, but it also allows us to see where the marks are in a traditional sense, to where if they don't know how to read the screen here, they can read this portion of the screen, which will tell them where to actually mark their materials. We do have the option to print out multiple or mark multiple in that instance as well. We also generate a plan. And what's nice about this is when we're working on buildings that have 600 assemblies or 1,000 plus assemblies, we can actually take the linear length if we're working with 20-foot or 10-foot sticks. This will update. And what it does is it optimizes the material yield that you're running through the system. So on this first stick, we can see that we've got 3/4 inch conduit down here, and we've got a total list of 36 conduits in this run while running 20-foot conduit. If I adjusted it to 10 feet, this would optimize, that number would grow or shrink depending on how it optimizes. And then up here in the gray, that's what's considered waste in the system. And then down here, these are considered reusable sticks. So it allows us to sustainably use material by pack optimizing the nested material into what we're running. What's nice here is as we select from the plan, you're going to see that it's also giving us the visual instructions of where the cuts are. So what that means is you don't necessarily have to have a fully automatic saw. You can work with just a traditional chop saw. So if I had this, and you can't see it in my office here, but I've got a table over here. If I have a chop saw at the end, I can actually grab a stick at 10-foot conduit, and I could start running through the list and say, okay, I'm going to advance it at this value, make a cut, advance it to the next value. I can even pull a tape. These are where I'm going to pull the actual tapes to mark it for cutting. And that's very efficient. That helps quite a bit. Those are some of the features. I'll jump back to the project screen. Where it really accelerates and where we found substantial value in this is really in the 3D viewing component. One of the things I was skeptical on traditional touchscreens is you can't isolate very well using the viewer. It doesn't always work very well in terms of connecting. What's nice in this instance with our touchscreen is we're able to actually control things a lot better. We can zoom in and get the details that we want. So those are just some of the features there. I know that there are a few people here. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to respond to them as well. I don't know, would it come through your phone, Allie?
I'm attending the live through my phone.
Oh, sure, yeah,
So
no
if
worries.
people comment, I'll let
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
You can also go back to the StreamYard and potentially see who's
Oh,
in there.
sure. Clyde, do you have any questions? I know you're. Oh, I can't hear Clyde, so I wonder if you turn up your volume. Oh, sure. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. A little bit of lag, maybe, but. Yeah, Clyde, if you don't mind typing it in, I'm happy to do that. You can also call me on my cell phone. I know there's a little bit of a delay as we're streaming, so either way, but. Okay. A little bit of lag. We'll jump back here. Okay, Clyde, if you don't mind typing it in, I'm happy to do that. Cool. Yeah, so what do you think, Michael?
I think it's great, to
Yeah.
be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily have any other questions or comments. I don't know if Clyde does.
Yeah, does Clyde have any? If you want to go back to StreamYard.
Oh, sure. Now let's see in the chat if.
He's trying to talk, I know he's.
Okay, hold on.
Go up to comments here. We're going to just try to adjust our settings here. There we go. There we go. Clyde, do you want to try that again? I might be able to hear you now. Sorry, Clyde. Let's go here, speaker,
Do
this one maybe?
Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go. I'll be able to hear you now, Clyde. Sorry about that. Oh, maybe you're muted.
He's not here.
there you go.
There we
All right,
go.
Oh, I had to click you. You joined us. There we go. Thank you.
And StreamYard's what I use when I'm recording my construction talks unfiltered. So I'm still
Oh,
learning
nice.
a lot of the things but I could definitely see how this would help in just about any construction process. Like being a carpenter, when I was doing all the gas plants, we would use Navisworks. And
Yeah.
Navisworks can get aggravating when you're trying to navigate to find little details, with a mouse.
Yeah.
So that would definitely help. But as you just pointed out, like if they would use that as the takeoff and that for all the carpentry for like the metal framing, you could end up with a cut list where you could end up saving the company material.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
I'm definitely impressed.
Well, I'm impressed that I want to thank you for your service because I see your hat there. So thank you
It
very
was
much.
a long
for your
time
service.
ago, 82 to 90.
Nice, nice. No, the thing that I was going to say is you're absolutely right. We're actually not just doing this for electrical. We do it for plumbing. We do it for mechanical. We're also doing it with lumber, metal studs, and other areas of cutting applications. But you're totally right. Like going through the Navisworks model and having to do a takeoff for a quantity takeoff, 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, the architect doesn't model all the studs. So you have some framing contractor going in there and modeling it, and the takeoff's very cumbersome. It takes a lot of time. But the nice part with it being a BIM model and being loaded into the web here is it gives us the ability to, really get the information at the machine level or even at the saw level to optimize it for material utilization. So those were some really good points there. When you were using Navisworks, were you cutting lumber primarily?
No, we were building gas plants, and when
Hi.
I was to the point where I had to have the Navisworks on my laptop and that,
Yeah.
I was the quality control officer on the civil side.
Yeah.
And the last couple plants, they were being designed as we were building them.
Yeah.
So, BIM we had conflicts for the simple fact that parts of the plant were being modeled in different areas.
Exactly.
So you had different modeling companies combining there was a couple pipe supports that I had the concrete and everything all done. And then when the steel come in, it was 2 feet away from the pipe.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And like when you're working with multiple areas of project sites, it's very challenging to get that information from your computer through the server over to those guys at the other facility. And that's one of the things. Are we still presenting here? I think. Let me check. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I don't think it'll kick it out, but I want to kind of talk through this with you for a minute, Clyde, because it's actually a very good point. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm just going to jump back over here. The nice part about getting the model into a platform like this and being able to use the web is we can remotely fabricate anywhere. So the idea is you can preset all those cut jobs to stage it for that job site, like that oil site that you were talking about that's remote. And then you just call up, Johnny over at that shop, and you're like, hey, Johnny, in my 2025 project, I've put this cut job together, and away he goes on using his manual saw, fully automatic saw or whatever. He can start ripping through the material. Everything's tracked back to the model, which is really nice. We can actually go back in here and set like an in progress color. So I know, hey, Johnny, cut that stick, right? Like that's been cut. I've got that update for it as well. And I think that's what you're talking about specifically, right, Clyde, is like just that communication barrier that you have with multiple sites, being able to bridge that gap and solve that problem, right?
Yeah. And well, we were still using paper drawings from my guys in the field.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to the model to see if there was any conflicts.
Yeah.
And I ended up being responsible for all the red line drawings back
Exactly.
for all these plants. We were at the end, that site we were on, there was 13 cryos, 3D ethanizers, a couple sludge catchers, and launcher receivers all scattered out over one huge area.
Wow.
And the last couple of plants, they kept shrinking the footprint down. So the model kept changing from what we were earlier. And that's when we were running into problems, because we were building faster than they were keeping the model up.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually a really good use case, Michael, for you as well. Like, I know, obviously, Michael, who's putting on the webinar today, he's in the Volanti displays side. But one of the things that I approached Michael with a few years ago, I kind of came up to him at a show and I was like, hey, we're working on these remote machines, and I see the value of being able to communicate those markups, communicate those changes, to eliminate having to print them out, mark it up, or even use Bluebeam, right? Like, because we'll use Bluebeam. Bluebeam runs great on here, by the way.
Yes.
But yeah, that's another thing. It's that you're saying, Clyde. It's like that communication gap to get the information back to him on a change. Those are the things that we really, are focused on at Allied on the software side to mitigate as well. And getting cost management in here, that's another thing. Like, when we're running a job like this, we want to make sure that we can, allocate and quantify the absolute amount of material that we're going to need or that's required to purchase, right? So, being able to break it down and know what we're ordering, for the job. I just had a conversation last night actually with our students, and one of the questions they said is when they heard prefab, they thought, 100% of the building is going to be prefab. The reality is we're prefabbing about 65 to 80% of the building, right? And so what they also said is they're like, well, wouldn't it be expensive to prefab the whole thing and just have the material sitting there? And it's like, no, we phase the prefab, right? We're phasing that prefab across the project. And that gives us the ability to kind of control it. And that's one thing Allied's really accelerated at, is the ability to, isolate the areas of work to distribute the communication down so that people have you can control what's being put through the shop at any given time. So those are some of the things there. But on my end, that's kind of just a quick run through of it. This machine setting here updates based on which machine you're connected to. I'll kind of keep drilling through some more of the features. You had mentioned the markup mode. So like the other critical piece here in Allied is like when we show our objects with Allied objects, we're actually breaking the conduits out. So even though in traditional Revit software, when you're modeling conduit, that you're modeling basically a piece of pipe, a conduit fitting and a conduit. In Revit, it's not drawn the way model is actually, or the way conduit's actually built. What we do is we actually run an analysis on the model to create an actual stick length. So if we go back over to one that's got some bends like this one, if we zoom in on this, you'll see that Allied has actually quantified that as one total length. So I have the total length at 5'10" 5/8". I've got all my tape measure marks and my unistrut marks down here. Also on the unistrut, on another model that I have, when we run our analysis, we're actually marking the unistrut as well. I have some pictures that I'll post to the comments on the LinkedIn Live here, just of some of the applications of what we're seeing at the shop level. Another great place to kind of see some of this in action is on our website. So I'll just pull that up real quick over here. So over at alliedbim.com, there's something going on with the keyboard here. See that, Mike? Yeah, something's up with the keyboard. So I don't know if it's Bluetooth or something, but if you go over to alliedbim.com, what it'll do is over on the electrical page, there's a video. And then it explains kind of the process, and I think that's a good spot to look. But Over here in this assemblies list, what's nice is we can drill through these items. So we can get to the bin sheets here. We can get to printing labels here. All it takes is just tapping the printer button and printing a label, right? We don't have to go over and set something up or click through a bunch of dialogues. It gives us the control. We can flip our marks. We can reverse our marks. It's very helpful in that regard. Also, to your point, commenting. Like if Johnny's on the shop floor and he's like, hey, Clyde, I've got or even if he's out in the field, he can go into comments and say, hey, you know, Clyde, I've got an issue with this part. We need to reproduce it or check it. All you have to do is go into Revit, make that adjustment, publish it up to ACC. And then what we do is allow you to switch to a new version. So you can actually come over here, Clyde, and you can update the model. And what this is going to do, I have to close out of the model first, just because I'm in it working. What this will do is give you the ability to choose the version that you're working with. So Allied automatically selects that model. And if there's multiple versions, you can navigate to that new version that's been published using ACC. So that's quite nice because we can version control our prefab. Right, so if you're working on a skyscraper, which some of our clients do, they're doing, you know, floors 1 through 10. They'll publish that as a version or a series of versions for each floor, and then they're staging their prefab. And then while prefab's working on floors 1 through 10, modelers are going through 11 through 20. They're publishing the next version, and then the next list comes out. So they're pushing prefab that way. So. Any other questions you have, Clyde, or anybody that's here? Just checking in. Brock, do you have any questions? Oh, sorry, I'll stop the share here. There we go.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments that they'd like to find out?
Well, I just personally want to thank Mike and Allie for putting this on. I know we had kind of a couple technical difficulties, but this is a great first run. I'm really excited to see the rest of your guys' videos that come out, and want to thank everybody for joining us today. Clyde, it was very nice to meet you. I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So thank you for joining, and you guys have a wonderful week.
Thank you very much, guys.
Right, okay, to do that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to.
I'm gonna click on it.
Yeah.
There we go.
You're still live.
Let's try the other one.
Oh yeah, wait, end stream. Yeah.